Hi. Something a bit different today. I'm very happy with the Git camera, but as I said in one of my previous videos, I shoot mainly with vivid colours, with the colour setting on vivid, which I actually really like. But it does tend to oversaturate the colours that are close to black in the shadows. So the shadows along the side of the road, especially if you're going along a road with hedges and things by the side of it, you can lose quite a lot of the detail in the shadows because it seems to oversaturate the colours, so it's turning near blacks into black. That oversaturation, I think, has a great effect on things like houses, the Cotswold stone houses and what have you, and the sky and things like that. But it's not something I want. It's something I've thought about doing something about in production, as it were. Not something that iMovie handles terribly well. But another thing that set me off on this quest was actually the barrel distortion effect you get from wide-angle lenses. And you get this with any wide-angle lens, is that the edges distort in barrel fashion. And I've prepared a couple of clips here. When I looked into how to get rid of this, it kept on taking me back to editing video in Photoshop. Which potentially would give me, more control than iMovie, which is a consumer-level product. And, Photoshop is Photoshop. Well, I happen to have a copy of Photoshop 6, a legitimate copy, I hasten to add. And so we'll have a look at that. I've got two clips on my desktop here that I shot with the Git 2. One of them is a little section going along on the bike, and the other one is the barrel distortion one, where I shot a little in the road. And we got the edge of this building here. You see I bounced off the edge of that building, and you can see the barrel distortion. As it gets near the edge of the actual picture, can you see that? It distorts more and more and more. And then if we go back the other way and bring the edge of this building on the right here back to the centre of the actual picture, it starts to straighten out again. Okay, but first of all, we will do the motorbike one and have a look at how you can alter colours and apply filters to video clips in Photoshop. So I'll just load that into Photoshop. And here we have this footage shot in 1080p. So I'm just going to go Command 0, make it fit on the screen. Actually, maybe, yeah, let's go to full screen with menu bar. Okay, Command 0 again. And there we have it. Right now, first thing we want to do is, because we don't want to particularly operate on this video frame by frame, is turn this into a smart object. So click on your layers palette there, there's only one layer, convert to smart object. Your timeline down here, it goes purple. So we're now in a smart object mode. Any effect we apply to this video will now apply to the whole video and not just the first frame or the second frame, wherever the playhead happens to be. Okay? And once you've done that, once you've converted it into a smart object, we can then apply adjustments. Now, sadly, a lot of them are greyed out, but the most useful one we have here is shadow and highlights. And can you see that instantly applies these settings, which I think were probably the ones I last used. And we can instantly lighten up the shadows, do the highlights. That's about that. If you want to see what shadows does, take it out to the extremes. You see, if you go to extreme left, the shadows are extremely dark. And we just want to lighten them up a bit. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's play a bit of that. Okay, it's a bit jerky. I haven't maxed this out on RAM. Okay, there's the motorbike going past. Stop. Go back to the beginning. And we'll turn off the smart filters and have a look at it as it was. There's a motorbike. Stop. Okay, and we'll do it once again. Turn the smart filters back on. And you can see it is a bit better. It's a bit lighter in the shadows on the hedges, right? But also, right, we'll turn off those smart filters. That's under image adjustments. Okay, HDR toning actually flattens the whole thing, so we won't really mess with that. But you can also go over to filters here. Now we're going to be looking at adaptive wide angle and lens correction with the other clip I've prepared. Okay, but you can also apply all these other filters to your film, and you can get some really groovy effects. I mean, I'm a child of the 70s, so I like a bit of psychedelia. So let's go into the filter gallery. And you could apply this if you wanted. So let's do that. Okay, and play it. So you could do a whole movie like this. Look how jerky it is. I mean, like rendering this is going to take an awful lot of RAM and time. If you had a full length, 1 gig movie from the Git 2, this is just a clip I've made of half a minute, and it's choking on this. And this is an up-to-date iMac. Okay, right, that was pretty groovy. Now let's go back to the filter gallery, and you can apply, of course, all these other effects to it. So if you wanted, glass, and all the effects you can usually apply to photos are there. Brush strokes. Dark strokes, man. Angle strokes. You could have a real play with this. You could have fun with this, with your movies, and produce some quite interesting effects, I'm sure. Huh. Yeah, I'll have to experiment with that. Mosaic tiles. I wonder what that looks like. Wow. But I just thought I'd point that out. I mean, that is a bit of fun. Okay? Now we're going to close this file and have a look at barrel distortion. Right, and I'm going to load the other clip that I've prepared by dragging it onto the Photoshop icon. Command 0. Actually, let's go View, Screen Mode, Full Screen Mode with Menu Bar. Command 0 again. Okay, and barrel distortion. Now, first of all, convert it to a smart object. Again, your thing goes purple, so every filter we apply is going to apply to the whole movie. And then go down on your filter menu to lens correction, which is Shift Command R if you want to do that. And here you get these options. Now you've got auto correction, edge transparency, lens profile, no matching profiles found. Right, now if you had a GoPro or something like that, you get a list up here of says search criteria, camera make, camera model, lens model, and it would have presets for dealing with all the barrel distortions in these major manufacturers' models. And you've got Apple, Canon, Sony. Unfortunately, I'm using the Git 2, which is not listed. So we're going to have to go into custom. Okay, and in fact, I'm just going to cancel that and move the head over to just along the movie a bit. So we got the side of that building there. right at the edge, on the right hand edge there, right at the edge, and that is the maximum distortion. Okay, so go back, filter, lens correction, custom, and here you can mess around with this quite a lot. Now, remove distortion is the first box, right, and you've got a picture of a squidged film there, top and bottom, and a full one there. So again, play with the slider. It's going to be different depending on your camera. You see, if you move it this way, you get much more fisheye. If you move it out this way, you get less. Okay, and there's options here for chromatic aberration, green magenta fringe, blue yellow fringe, vignette. That's quite amusing. Because if you wanted to, you could take your movie it's not a vignette actually, but that actually gives quite a good effect. Vignette, I quite like that. I quite like that effect. And here we have a couple of important ones: vertical perspective and horizontal perspective. Now, can you see what the vertical perspective one is doing? Now we want to pull the bottom of that building in a bit, so we're going to move the slider to the left. And there it is, about as horizontal as we're going to get. Now you've got to probably have to mess around with these in combination. See, if I alter the geometric distortion, if I turn that down a bit, see, we have got the edge of that building relatively straight. This is going to depend on, you know, whichever camera you're using. Horizontal perspective, you can alter here, you can alter the angle, right, and you can see there what we've done to this movie file if you move it like that. Okay, but we don't want that, we're going to leave that on 0. And scale, so you can zoom in and zoom out. Right, and you can see how we've distorted the actual movie file if you move that over to the left to get that straight edge on the right. Right. Okay, well we're going to hit cut. You'll have to play with that because your own camera, whichever make it is, you know, if you're lucky, it'll be listed on the original. Let me just open that again. If you're lucky, it'll be listed here. If you're not, and you're tight like me, tight with money, your camera's not going to be listed because it will be, you know, a GoPro knockoff like my Git 2, although it is a very, very good camera and in my view offers much better value than the GoPros. Yeah. Right, and you can alter things like the levels, you know, in Photoshop. First thing I do with any photo I import into Photoshop is levels. You know, it really is an excellent video tool. So you've got all these filters here, curves, exposure. Let's have a look at curves. Okay, do the highlights, darken the shadows up a bit. See, this is actually a more accurate way because it's infinitely adjustable. Or we could just go auto. Auto doesn't look very good actually. I think I prefer it with a bit more dark shadows. You see, this is more, you have much more control doing it this way. And you can mess around with your movies till the cows come home in Photoshop. It's absolutely great video. And then to produce the actual movie, what I'd do, if I could be bothered to do this, and frankly I can't, because, you know, if you took one of my motorbike journeys, turned it into a movie, or did the individual clips actually, and then saved the individual clips out as movies in some sort of lossless format, and then took them into iMovie and then produced the movie, I mean, you're talking about days, you know, because not only does it need massive amount of processing power. If I had a Power Mac, you know, we might be talking turkey. It might be able to sort of leave it overnight or something like that. And if it had, you know, gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs of RAM, but I've got an iMac, and it's not really, that is industrial quality, industrial strength stuff. And this is Photoshop, you know, I mean, you don't get anything more powerful than Photoshop. So, you know, the more powerful the machine, I assure you, Photoshop will lap up all the resources. Okay, well, that's it. That's a look at editing movies in Photoshop. If you fancy giving it a go, I think it only works with CS6 and Photoshop CC. I might be wrong on that, but it definitely works in CS6, Photoshop CS6, because this is CS6. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Have fun. Thanks for listening.